Welcome into the show today, The Productive Point of View, and this is your host, Jake Jordan, and I have with me a new acquaintance, friend, business person here I've met on LinkedIn recently. Her name is Reena Friedman Watts, and she is the Director of Marketing and Sales for Strategic Marketing Financial Services, Inc. Reena, how are
Good
you?
morning. Hi.
You have a big
Excited to be here.
title.
Thank you.
What do you do? You have a big title.
So, I work with financial professionals and CPAs, estate planners, and I talk to them about advanced tax reduction strategies.
Ooh, interesting. So how'd you get into that? That seems like a really niched type of thing to just fall into.
Yeah, it is definitely. It's funny. I met somebody else on LinkedIn and I was kind of looking for something closer to home because I'm a mommy, have three kids, and I wanted to be able to work full time and still take my kids to school and pick them up. So I was really holding out for that. I had been going downtown Chicago and taking the train like an hour and a half each way, and it was too much of a juggle. And so I was really looking for something close to home, something where I could use my LinkedIn chops and something that was client facing. And so I was on a radio show called You're Hired, and he had on an exec from Indeed.com and Monster.com. And I was like, wow, I haven't used that since like 2001. I'll check
Hmm.
that out. And I put my resume on there. And then, my boss, who I'm currently working for, found me, and he was 2 miles from my kid's school. It was like perfect.
Wow.
Like, do you like talking to financial advisors, to men? It's like a 90% male dominated industry. I was like, that sounds fine,
Yeah.
and he primarily does all his business on LinkedIn, which is something that I love doing. So I was like, I can try anything for a year, and
Cool.
yeah, so I'm recreating myself once again.
Very cool. I know there's a lot of that going on, it seems like, just because probably technology has changed so much and uh, just a lot going on in the last couple of years online. And that's awesome that you fell into that. So what is it about that excites you? Like on a day to day, kind of coming into work, what about that have you found exciting and, and fun to do?
So I was also kind of looking for a small business, something where, there's not so many gatekeepers and that you can kind of be
Mm,
creative and, not 20 people have to approve your message before it goes out.
okay.
And I have a lot of creative freedom, which is something that's fun. I'm not super edited. Um, and I like that.
Hmm.
I've worked for bigger corporations where even to get out a white paper, it takes like a year and a half because it's tweaked to death.
Yeah.
And I think the word is wordsmith to death. I didn't even know what that term meant
Yep.
until I worked for a corporate company. I got my start in the television industry and I worked in production for about 10 years. And there's multiple versions of the script and lots of contributors, and it's just such a different environment. And then when
Right.
I went into the corporate scene, and there were so many gatekeepers and people are afraid to send emails and afraid to put out the white paper, and it takes so long that the customers don't even want it anymore by the
Right.
time it's ready. So I
Um,
I really wanted to work in an environment where I could post my own LinkedIn posts, maybe bounce some ideas off of them, come up with my own emails. But again, he's, doing the illustrations and the case design and the number crunching, and he's totally letting me, learn it. And he sent me to Tony Robbins for leadership training. He sent me to Leonard Atlas in LA for sales training. So I feel like he's really, behind me, and he's investing in me, and he's letting me be myself. And that is a great place to be.
no
So
kidding.
that really excites me.
No kidding. I can tell, and it sounds awesome to me too. Actually, that's fantastic. Uh, cool. Well, so you touched on something I wanted to ask you about. Actually, was you have this history as I guess as a researcher, producer type stuff at television station. How has that kind of framed your mindset for doing the types of things that you're doing now? Because it seems like it'd be some really good training in certain areas.
So my very first job out of college was Jerry Springer.
Oh
And
yeah.
even how I got there is a crazy story. I'll try to keep it brief, but I used to read the news and weather for an NPR station at Purdue and thought I wanted to work in radio. I've actually never told the story like on air or any publication or
Yes.
anything. And I've wanted to because it's a great story. So
Exclusive.
yes, it's an exclusive. I drove up to Chicago. I had an interview at WGN and I was like, want to work in radio, you know, and it was like a big station, a big city. I'm from Kentucky. I'm a small town girl. It was like a big deal. And then they didn't have an opening and I'm like, but I want to work, you know? And so it was a great opportunity. And then it was crazy. I saw a flyer that Jerry Springer was looking for interns. It was in the same courtyard. So I literally walked across to NBC Tower. I told them I had an interview with the intern coordinator. This was like pre 9/11. I got through security. I was like, I'm here to meet with the intern coordinator. And he was like, are you serious? Like, how did you even get up here? And he's like, when can you start? I was like, I graduate in 2 weeks. So I ended up getting an internship. I was new to Chicago. I knew no one. I like found somebody, you know, off of the internet to like crash in their living room, lived out of a suitcase for like 2 months. And then I went from intern to associate producer in 2 months. So from like eating out of a can and like zero money to $45,000 as an associate producer. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm moving to the Gold Coast, you know? And I found somebody else that got like a production assistant role the same day. And so I was an AP and he was a PA and we got a place on the Gold Coast. We were like living on air mattresses. We had like an ironing board, 2 air mattresses next to each other. And we were, you know, just ecstatic to be in Chicago.
Right.
And, oh my God, we were working around the clock, literally like it felt like 100 hours a week. It might've probably been 85 to 100 hours a week. And it was a great first job. And I was going through 1,500 calls a week of people that were calling 1-800-96-JERRY.
Wow.
And that is really great training for any type of sales role because it is a numbers game. And, you know, you have to be able to learn how to move quickly and you have to be able to learn who's lying and you have to be able to ask a series of questions where you can bust people out.
Right.
And it's the same thing with finance. You're like, okay, I've been talking to you for months and I think you're great as a person, but are we going to do business or what?
Right.
Are you going to come on my show or do I need to move on?
Yes.
Should I shut the file or do you have somebody that fits the parameters?
Man, I can see the Jerry Springer fire that's in there too. So this is perfect. So do you have any particular callers, anything that you remember calling in that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, that's actually, you know, one of those questions that I get. Okay, so people ask me, what's like the craziest story? And, you know, or something along the lines of what you just asked me. And is it real? But I can't answer that one because I signed like a book, a non-disclosure. Okay.
Right.
So my favorite story and the one that probably got me promoted to producer in 8 months was, and literally the message just said 14-year-old girl. She didn't even leave her name. Caught, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't embarrass my boss, me talking about this. Caught her grandmother in bed with her boyfriend. He was 18. The grandmother was like 59. Yeah. And she was pregnant by him and she suspected that the mother slept with him too. And I'm like, this is insane. I am getting this. I'm like, if I have to send a limo to your lot space in Georgia, right? If I have to come and get you, like, and I got the story. It went the whole show. It went the entire show. It was completely true. That's why I'm sharing it too. Yeah. You know, the boyfriend was a punk 18-year-old kid. He had a rough story. She had a rough story. They all had a rough story. The mom had just gotten out of prison. She was like on, you know, house arrest. I'm like, leave the lights on. The limo's coming, you know?
Oh my goodness. That so fits. That's exactly what the show was. All right. So it was, wow. That's all I got. I'm going to use your advice from Eli's video and just leave it there. Just gonna So tell me about that piece of advice. For those of you who hadn't seen it, Eli Hutchberg's a guy on LinkedIn that we're both connected with who was through Chicago and interviewed Reena real quickly. And she said, my best business advice is to shut up, basically. What do you mean by that?
I mean that what you say can be misconstrued. And unless your message is tight, you better wait to deliver it. You better really think about it, especially if it's somebody that, you know, has 40,000 agents under him.
Okay.
I
So,
think it's sometimes best to sleep on things because I am emotional.
mhm. Oh, really? It's kind of like mom told you to count to 10 when you were mad,
Definitely.
like things you learned in kindergarten. There's a book about that somewhere. Yeah.
There's another one I wrote down. My dad says, keep your eyes shut and your ears open
Interesting.
because listening gives you a more accurate vision.
Wow, that's powerful.
I love my dad. He gives great advice, and it's better to call him sometimes
Yeah.
than to call anyone associated with work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Different
Because
way.
even though somebody, is in it with you and, tells you that they want the same results,
Mm-hmm.
work is work, and you never know who's going to really be on your team
Yep.
at
That's
the
so
end of
true.
the day.
That's so true.
So it's better not to confide in your desk mate.
Right. I love that. That's a great quote. I can't wait to tweet that one. That's fantastic. Cool. So tell me a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of distraction around. Like you mentioned earlier, there's just people have so many different things they can get caught up in. How do you keep on course in a sales role, um, just in general? Because obviously you're on LinkedIn, and you know how crazy that can get, and that's just one thing that can distract you.
Right. LinkedIn is my biggest distraction. It's my favorite channel.
Yep.
I make a lot of lists. I really do. The most pressing I try to get to first, the most
Hmm.
difficult I try to get to first. It's kind of like I just recently took up CrossFit
Woo.
and they tell you to do your weak arm first.
Hmm.
So it's like that in the workplace. You
Right.
really should do the hardest things first that you want to put off and get through the hardest first because the other stuff you can do quicker.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I know I've heard like you mentioned Tim Ferriss, get up in the morning and do the tough. Yeah, what is it? Eat that frog. Isn't that like a Stephen Covey book or one of those guys?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's do the tough stuff first. That's great. So speaking of distraction and, you mentioned a little bit about LinkedIn and whatnot too, but how has technology, do you think, served you in the last couple of years rather than distract you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I can say that it's led to me doing your podcast, and I did another
Yeah.
podcast last week, and I
Mhm.
have another one coming up,
Look at
and
that.
it's and I got me the current job that I have. I
Mhm.
mean, that all is incredible.
Right.
And when I worked in television in 2001, uh,
Yeah.
that's when I got my start.
Uh,
We got all our leads from the phone. They probably don't book anyone that way anymore.
right.
And it's like I could just put, a message on my Facebook now saying, "Hey, looking for recommendations on CPAs." I don't have to
Yeah.
say that I'm putting on an event
Right.
for CPAs and financial professionals, but immediately I get like 50 leads that way of like, "Hey, I got a great CPA." I mean, I do that. It's crazy.
Right.
So, yeah, I got 10,000 views on just me being silly and saying, "Hey, I was going to dress up as a Vita, but I tried on the dress, the lipstick, the necklace, and the side bun wasn't working." And then I pointed to Avita where I'm going to have my event next week.
Hmm.
And even if none of those 10,000 views, if anybody shows up from that, it's keeping me in the minds of the people that I'm connected with and starting a conversation with them. It's great for brand building.
Right. Right. And so like you've got such a unique and awesome experience in TV and that was such a massive brand you worked for. I mean, everyone knew who Jerry Springer was. And it's because he was so out there and owned who he was, right? And so
Totally.
so how are you doing that? Because clearly emotion is something you don't struggle with. So that's a natural thing for you. But outside of emoting, what are you doing to take advantage of that?
So even before doing your podcast, I mean, I've seen a couple of the videos that you've done on LinkedIn, but I was like, gosh, I don't want to watch too many of them because I don't want to like try to be somebody else.
Hmm.
And I also like, since I love LinkedIn so much, I do kind of study the people that are doing really well at it. And
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I don't want to be them though. I mean, I kind of like, there are commonalities between them and they all kind of have their own formula. I still want to like use what works from that, but still be me.
Right.
And by being me and like not doing exactly what they're doing, it's been working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Did
So
you?
it's the same thing with booking people on television, like, and, you know, getting financial advisors to my events. A lot of times people will come to your events and be on your show if they like you.
Yep. Right. And they can't get to you if you're not you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Did you watch the video I did about that very thing? No. See, I figured that's crazy. So that in the 5 video challenge, that was the first one I did. Was too many
Maybe
people.
Maybe I did watch that
Okay.
then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's just too many people out there stealing formulas and then inserting their name or or whatever, and not being
Yeah. And
themselves.
I feel like that subject has really been touched upon lately, and I would never want to do that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, okay. So my last question, because I could talk to you for a couple hours. This is so fun and entertaining. I hope everyone is enjoying it as much as I am.
Oh, thank you.
The last thing I kind of always like to say is, all right, if you had like an hour tomorrow to work on your business, and only an hour, because circumstances made it that way, and you had to have leads or sales the next day afterwards, what would you work on for that hour?
Okay. I thought about this question.
Okay.
And now that I am putting together events for financial professionals,
Mm-hmm.
there are many ways in which you can do that. You can
Right.
buy lists, which is a numbers game, but it's quality over quantity. Do you
Mm-hmm.
really want somebody that's only been in the industry for a couple months? Because all those people are on the list.
Yep.
Or do you want people that already like you, that believe in your brand, that have done business with you or are considering doing business with you? So if I only had 1 hour, I'm calling the people that like me. I am calling my advocates.
Yep.
I am calling the people that are going to rock their brain because they want me to succeed.
Yep.
And they're going to be on the front line with me. And I did that today. I was like, okay, I've got half my event, filled for
Yep.
next week.
Yep.
I'm coming down to the wire. I want this event to be the best it can possibly be. Who do you know? And
Yep.
boom, 3 more names from somebody who's like a close friend of mine.
Awesome.
So if I had 1 hour, it's going to be with the people that I know are super connectors, the people that, are brand ambassadors, the people that shout my message with me, the people that have the correct mindset. That's what you learn at Tony Robbins too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that is how you put your hand through the piece of wood and you travel along those poles. Mm-hmm. Because if you are in the mindset that only success is going to happen, that show is going to happen, whether it's 1 story or 4. Mm-hmm. I have literally put on a show where I booked the story, the studio audience was there. I had people getting there the day of. I am like, okay, I've got 1 story and that story is going the show, the entire show. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I would spend my hour with people that are of the same mindset.
Yeah, collaboration, right?
Yep.
You can't beat collaboration. And I think it's super important based on the amount of attention that is available these days, but the amount of supply is so much bigger than that. Is you only have the opportunity to get in front of people a couple times, and you might as well do it with people that are going to say, like you said, shout your message for you. So I love that advice. I'm going to do some more of that today. In fact,
awesome.
Yesterday I was just talking about it, so today I'm going to do it. So
do it.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. Well, this is so much fun. Thank you, Reena, for being here and for rocking the show with us. So
loved it.
I love it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hope to talk to you again soon, and good luck on filming that show next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye.